Anne de Boulen was taken to the Tower Green on May 19, 1536, where she was executed for the charges of high treason, adultery, and incest against King Henry VIII. Her short life was a whirlwind, full of the best education, glamour, and fame, and ultimately a place next to King Henry's throne. Anne was born to Sir Thomas Boulen of England and Lady Elizabeth Howard. She had two siblings, Mary and George. Mary was actually at one point the king's other mistress, and her two kids are said to have been fathered by King Henry, even though she was married to Sir William Thomas. And they called those children bastard children, so they were never considered male heirs to the throne. Anne's father, Sir Thomas, was well known and well liked. He won over Archduchess Marguerite of Austria, and she offered Anne a place to stay in her household. She made a great impression in the Netherlands and was then sent to become a maid of honor to King Henry's sister, Mary Tudor of France in 1514. While in France, she learned the language and focused her interest in fashion and religious philosophy. Anne's fashion sense had an influence on all women in England. Her education in France ended in the winter of 1521. Through her education in France, Anne was best described as a woman of charm, style, and wit. She was a devout Christian, yet enjoyed drinking wine, gambling, and gossiping. On March 14, 1522, Anne made her first debut on court during a masquerade ball. She was sent to be a maid of honor to Queen Catherine. She performed an elaborate dance at the ball, thus beginning her reputation as the most fashionable and accomplished woman in the court. In 1525, Henry VIII started his pursuit towards Anne. He relentlessly tried to make his mistress, but Anne refused to do so unless they were married. The fact that Anne turned down his advances made it even more a reason why Henry was enamored with her. Anne always rejected, saying, "I beseech your highness most earnestly to desist, and to this my answer in no part. I would rather lose my life than my honesty." Anne would not be his mistress and gave in to his attempts unless she was his wife, thus beginning her popularity. Henry eventually filed for the Pope to get an annulment from Catherine of Aragon, but the Pope refused to do so unless the decision was made in Rome. Eventually, Queen Catherine was still banished from the court and inherited all of her old rooms. Catherine always remained the favorite of the people, and in one instant almost lost Anne for death. In 1531, Anne was dining on the river, and a crowd of hostile women almost seized Anne. She nearly escaped a boat. Soon Henry gained power over the church and was allowed to remarry on his judgment. He married Anne secretly and then had a second wedding service on January 25, 1533. Soon after the wedding service, Anne became pregnant with her first and only child. Queen Catherine was stripped of her title, and Anne was crowned on June 1st, 1533. After she became pregnant, she was sent to Greenwich Palace to prepare for the birth of her first baby. The child was born on September 7, 1533, and was named Princess Elizabeth. She would later go on to be one of the most influential queens to reign. Mary, Henry's daughter, was sent away because she threatened Elizabeth's future place. And this is actually a quote from Mary. She did not like Anne at all, obviously, and she actually gave up all of her rights to her father's heir. The downfall of the marriage happened after Anne was unable to give King Henry VIII a son, and Henry saw this as betrayal. Anne also had a tendency to stand up for herself and had a very sharp tongue, and the king did not like this at all. Henry now began to discuss the ability to leave Anne without having to go back to Catherine. Soon after, on January 8, 1536, Catherine of Aragon died from cancer of the heart. Anne was also pregnant again and had no clue of the dangers if she did not produce a son. Ironically, the days of Catherine's funeral, January 29, 1536, Anne miscarried a male fetus that was around 15 weeks old. Anne went on to have 2 more miscarriages when Henry announced her marriage was a product of witchcraft. There were plenty of men in Anne's court that were arrested and tortured under the circumstances that they were Anne's lovers. Among one of them was Anne's brother, George, saying he had an affair with Anne over a 12-month span. They were both tried for treason and incest. Anne's men also had to testify the different accounts of miscarriages that Anne had. This was used against her. On May 12, 1536, Anne was arrested at lunch and taken to the Tower of London, where her and her brother were both charged on the accounts of incest and treason. George was executed along with other men that were charged with Anne adulteries on May 17, 1536. It was said at this time that Anne was ready to die, and she was ready to die. She was not happy at all. And on May 19, 1536, she was led to the Tower Green. She made a short speech while she was chanting, "To Jesus Christ I commend my soul, Lord Jesus, receive my soul." The ladies removed her headdress and blindfolded her. Before the execution, the swordsman yelled, "Where is my sword?" to distract Anne, and executed her right then. Henry failed to provide a coffin for Anne, so she still remains unmarked. And that was her speech. And then this is Queen Elizabeth, which became the most important queen in London. And these are his other sisters.